It's the Louisiana Derby for $1 million. That's right, horse racing fans, and welcome back to the Each and Every Stride YouTube channel. And my name is Keith. As you can tell, I'm really excited for the Louisiana Derby. It's going to be for this Saturday, March 22nd at the fairground. Big purse of $1 million, as I was just mentioning, and connections are going to be dreaming big here for the Kentucky Derby, the first Saturday in May. I'm really excited for this race. 10 horses have assembled for this one and 50 qualifying points to the winner to the Kentucky Derby to get in the gate there. So let's talk about it. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe here to Each and Every Stride. Let's go with this here. It's a great betting board. As you could tell, the morning line favorite I'm going to talk about in a second here for John Hancock, 7-2 morning line. So that just shows of this betting opportunity that we have as horse players. And let me know who you like too in the comments as well. Let's talk about John Hancock. As I mentioned, morning line 7-2, really comes down to the Tampa form. Are you going to fade that or are you going to ride it? Because we've seen it kind of held up here on the Derby Trail. And, we've seen, some of the winners do well there. So as far as this with Tampa, it's a big stakes day. We know that John Hancock is going to be going from the rail by Flavian Pratt. But, we've seen this track play pretty fair in the past on stakes days here at the fairgrounds. They have a long stretch. Even the winner that I was very high on last year with the Kentucky Derby Trail, Catching Freedom, came from way off and from the back, even from Flavian Pratt. So Flavian Pratt's looking for a three-peat here as he won with Kings Barnes the year before. So this would be a three-peat here for the Brad Cox, and actually would be for Flavian Pratt aboard for John Hancock. Now, I just think that, it's going to come down to, as a horse player, this horse has one way to go. And to see a lot of speed in this race. Now, for Brad Cox, his barn hasn't really been firing the same kind as we've seen the last few years. Now, we just had a Rapture run a disappointing effort recently in the Virginia Derby. So, John Hancock's performance in the Sam F. Davis was flattered, though, by Owen Almighty. So that's the horse that came back to win the Tampa Bay Derby. He's on the path now to the Bluegrass for Owen Almighty. I'll be interested to see if that horse actually runs in the Derby. He's not in this field, but let's talk about this Louisiana Derby and the pace, because there's going to be a lot of pace. I think John Hancock's going to be sent from the rail. For me as a horse player, I'm going to play against, though. It's his first start away from Tampa Bay. Good amount of speed in this race. Won't be included in my top three picks. I couldn't fault you, though. If you think that this horse is going to get loose on the lead at the rail, good luck to you. 7-2 morning line for John Hancock. Let's talk about number 2, Chunk of Gold. Ran second in the Risen Star at a big price at 43-1, rallying from off the pace. This horse has actually showed a good dimension because he's ran well on synthetic and dirt. That versatile type has done well, actually, in the previous, 2 years ago. It was Two Fills. So a little bit of Two Fills vibes here. This horse was Two Fills placed in the Derby, ran huge, won the Ohio Derby after. Followed that horse very closely. Now for Chunk of Gold, you get Jareth Loveberry aboard, gets the return call. Now this horse was a bargain, Chunk of Gold, purchase price of only $2,500, and you got it for a smaller barn here for Ethan West, the trainer. So this horse is going to be a value long shot for me. I'm going to be talking about, at least underneath, going to be in all my exotic plays. All right, let's talk about Tiztastic, horse that I've been on many times here. If you follow the Each and Every Stride Kentucky Derby series here for Tiztastic, 2 wins on the turf, but is not one on the dirt. And another jockey aboard in Joel Rosario. So, good off the pace jockey. So I'd like to move there, but more of an underneath play for me. I've chased this horse a couple of times. He's burned some money for me. I know he had the 5th place finish there recently, in the Rebel at Oaklawn. But, Rosario has actually done pretty well in this race. He won aboard Epicenter. That was for Steve Asmussen. And so same barn here for Asmussen. And then it looks like, 2021 he won for Hot Rod Charlie. So I know that was the O'Neill barn there. But 2021 for Hot Rod Charlie. So if you had a look, a hunch with the jockey there for Rosario, he's done pretty well in this race. So more of an underneath play for me, though. I'm going to let him beat me this time. Watch him get into the winner's circle for sure. Let's talk about number 4, Yinzer. So this horse was purchased for $1 million. So big purchase, twirling candy colt. And I want to actually maybe name a horse that twirling colt. That sounds pretty good. Now, this horse, it took 4 tries for Yinzer to break the maiden, and he did so at the fairgrounds. I kind of like that, actually. But now you're stepping up into the big stakes ranks here. Now, he was 11-1 that day, breaking the maiden on February 15th at the fairgrounds. That was the undercard of the Risen Star. Now, this was an interesting thing that I found is that Steve Asmussen. So this is another Asmussen horse. They're back to back here in the starting gate. Interesting that Yinzer gets a 6 furlong workout. So you don't usually see that from the Asmussen barn. So I thought I just have a note here, one to keep an eye on and one to see what the tote board does. 12-1 morning line. Let's talk about a horse I'm very interested in. I was very impressed after the Sunland Derby performance. So this is Caldera. I've seen a lot on Twitter that a lot of players are actually kind of fading this race. I'll talk about it with Getaway Car, because he came in 4th place in the Virginia Derby. I thought Sunland Derby was pretty good race, though. This horse, Caldera, had no business even losing by a nose. It was so close. It took a while for the photo to come down and announce the winner there. But that was the winner that day, was Getaway Car by a nose in the Sunland Derby. Caldera was 4 wide on that first turn and just stuck wide. It kind of reminded me almost of harness racing, just parked out wide, and at the same time never saved ground. But this horse did not get tired. And I like that because the fairgrounds has a long stretch. D. Wayne Lucas barn is firing right now. The ageless wonder, D. Wayne Lucas, just won the Virginia Derby with American Promise at Colonial Downs the other day. So I'm going to ride him. I think that he's at least a contender in this one, going to be in my exotic plays. And I'll be talking about some of these other ones here. I know Caldera's 1-for-4 lifetime. I like the pairing with Tyler Gaffleone aboard Caldera, and comes in with some nice workouts I'm going to be talking about. Let's talk about number 6, Built. This horse gone back and forth on many times here on the Kentucky Derby Trail. So this is for trainer Wayne Catalano. I'm rooting for this barn to have their Derby horse. And this is Jose Ortiz's aboard. So he's actually the leading jockey at the fairgrounds. So by a good margin, and adds blinkers. So Built adds blinkers for the first time. Really helps the horse focus, especially getting out of the gate, but also, for speed. I'm going to talk about, I have a theory with this horse, and I think it's going to be good for him to at least be in the money. So Built is actually shown to pass horses recently, and it's ran in all 4 legs of the Louisiana Derby series. You don't usually see that. So this horse has been stationed at the fairgrounds, and he won the Gun Runner. And then after that, that was at Oaklawn. But then after that, it was finished 2nd in the Lecomte and 3rd in the Risen Star. So a lot of in the money finishes. Going to need to move forward, looking to bookend this one for the Louisiana Derby series. So it's actually going to be hopefully winning the first one and winning the last one here. Now, Built, he's by Hard Spun. So Hard Spun ran in the Kentucky Derby, was the runner-up, placing there in 2007. I like the equipment change. I like the blinkers a lot. I like the jockey change. And I think it's going to make a big difference here for Built. Number 6. Let's talk about number 7, Vassimo. Handicapped this horse last time from the Pletcher barn. Blinkers on. So another horse with the blinkers. Now, this horse does have some nice pedigree. Number 7, Vassimo. He's by Nyquist and out of a Pulpit mare. So I actually thought that was some good pedigree right there. And hey, 12-1 morning line. This horse, I like the blinkers, and I like how this horse passed horses the last time. And it was his first start at the fairgrounds. Going to need to make up some lengths though on a Chunk of Gold and Built there as well. But trainer Todd Pletcher doesn't really have many Kentucky Derby contenders here. So I know that he won this race, as I was mentioning, with Kings Barnes in 2023. What I really like here about Vassimo is Irad Ortiz stays on. I think that's a big thing. I mean, I don't know how many options he had at this point, but listen, you're getting one of the top jockey And I think that he's going to be looking for a serious Kentucky Derby mount. If this horse wins, you could see Irad actually staying on maybe for the Derby. But I think this horse has a long shot look. And I think that this is going to be a different trip for Vassimo. He's got the blinkers now. Now I read about this online, is that all his Kentucky Derby prep mounts have all been sent to the lead. Every single one you could think of, even Matticat Road and Oak Lawn and all those. I think this is going to be a second flight off the pace type, even with the blinkers. So I think you can get a nice trip there from the seventh post for Vassimo. Let's talk about number 8, Furio. I had to do a little research on this horse. So many contenders here that you just have to really dig in and go to the lab. So this horse came in second place to a horse I'm going to be talking about, number 9, Instant Replay. This is I think the speed fractions are going to be faster in this one. Now, this is a speed ball. And I just think that there's going to be some speed in this race, going to big step up in class. I really wanted to see how the track was going to be playing that day. So take note, because this horse, if it's a speed favoring track where you could really go to the lead and get to keep going, if it's just a merry-go-round, could be a long shot look for Furio. I'm going to play against, though. I mean, it's a Joe Sharp barn, so I wish the horse the best, but just not going to be on my tickets. Let's talk about the number 9 Instant Replay I was just mentioning. Horse ran with Lasix on. Now, no Lasix, though. So that's a big thing about that field, is that this horse is going to try to get a setup. Now, this horse is by Maximum Security and the same ownership group as Maximum Security. So that's Gary and Mary West. And I actually had a side note real quick here about Maximum Security. As I attempt to pull myself on screen, is that I actually had a future bet and a winning bet on Maximum Security in the Derby. The rest is history after that. Disqualified there in the Derby. But this is for Florent Giroux. Seeks his third Louisiana Derby. So, I think that it's going to come down to that. And listen, 6-1 morning line. I was a little shocked it was that low for this horse. Maybe, Brad Cox is going to wake up with this horse out of nowhere here to take it. I know that he won it last year with Catching Freedom here in the Louisiana Derby. Just going to let him beat me in this spot, though. But, I dug in on this horse, 6-1 morning line. Post draw is not the greatest, but I think this horse could run well, at least an underneath maybe play for me, but big stakes competition in this one. Let's talk about a horse I've gone back and forth with here is Hypnus. Now, this is a closer on the outside draw. Again, Brian Hernandez is actually known for kind of saving ground like he did with Mystic Dan against the rail there for the Kentucky Derby. This horse is interesting, though. I mean, at least you could try to save ground from the back. And I was saying if there's a speed bias or speed meltdown where this race kind of just falls apart, this horse could factor at least to pick up the pieces. Now, he had some traffic trouble in this last race here at the Rebel. And I know that, joins, it's actually John Hancock and him are the most lightly raced horses in the field. So, I think experience could play a factor in this Louisiana Derby. But if you're going to go with the young ones, the real ones that don't have experience and Hypnus can save ground and close and get a setup, I don't fault you for using them. So let's talk about how I'm going to play this Louisiana Derby. I appreciate you guys joining me here on the Each and Every Stride YouTube channel. Tough race to handicap. So I think you're going to get paid. I'm going to use 4 horses. I don't usually use 4 in a 10-horse field, but I like number 6 Built, as I mentioned. Going back and forth on this horse a lot. I like the equipment change. I like the jockey change. I like the post. So in the past, this post for Built, he's actually had some way outside posts. That's why I kind of faded him. I believe he had at least the 13 post one time. Now you got the number 6 post. I like that to work out a trip. I just hope that Jose Ortiz doesn't have him right on the lead. There's going to be some speed in this one. Hopefully rate right off the lead there. Show the ability to pass horses late. I like that. So number 6 Built is going to be my top pick there. And looks number 5 Caldera. This horse is interesting. Now, I know that Sunland Park, that form in the past hasn't really translated much on the Kentucky Derby trail, but you come in with back-to-back bullet workouts at 5 furlongs. So the D. Wayne Lucas ain't messing around right now. 5 furlong back-to-back bullets there. So he was the first out of all the horses working out that day. A hot barn. I was just mentioning, American Promise just won the Virginia Derby, and hats off to D. Wayne Lucas here because he's got, at least a few Kentucky Derby contenders for sure. And let's talk about, the Sunland Derby race. Go back and forth on that one. This horse was so wide in that Sunland Derby. Getaway Car does come back to finish fourth in the Virginia Derby. I don't really see it as a Getaway Car is, he tried to set the pace. That race at the Virginia Derby was just American Promise just overpowering everybody. So I wouldn't fault too much into that form. So I think that Caldera is going to run a big one. And then, as I mentioned, the long shots, Chunk of Gold, number 2, and Vassimo, number 7. They're going to be my long shots in this one. I don't usually use 2 here. I don't usually use 4 horses in general, but I'm going to be boxing these ones. Let's make some money, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in here on the Each and Every Stride YouTube channel. And my name is Keith. Give me a follow at Each Every Stride on X Twitter. Going to be coming out with some analysis more here for the Kentucky Derby series, road leading up to the first Saturday in May. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. So hit the like button, subscribe here to Each and Every Stride. Going to be coming out some more videos for sure. Going to be cashing big on Saturday. Hope you are too. Let's go, everybody. Cheers.